This is Doug Vahrenberg, and welcome back to another set of tips and tricks. And today, kind of looked at the weather forecast, and it was probably a good thing we did. I'm shooting the video a little late today because we had some of them swirling winds rolling around the countryside here around mid-Missouri. And so what I did to stay safe and stay inside is basically dug out all my Lucky Crafts, and I got me a new reorganization method. But what I want to talk about, in a previous segment we talked about square bills and the simplified method on it. And what we're going to talk about today is kind of my simplified method of what I've done to organize my crankbaits and how I select them. Slide these out of the way. What I have done is I have done my Lucky Craft crankbaits by depths. 0 to 2 foot, 3 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 15 to 20, 20 plus. Depends on how many crankbaits you have and what you have is how you want to organize them. This is all personal preference to yourself. But the thing what I wanted to do is when I grab a box, I want to be able to target a certain depth range typically. I've tried sizes, I've tried colors, but I think this method here of targeting sizes will give me a wider variety of opportunities. By grabbing one box, I can open it up and I've got from little baits to larger baits all in the same box. What that allows me to do is sometimes I want to match small baits. Yeah, and creating an organization method by size that way would be helpful. But sometimes they may not want a small bait, they may want something larger. So I can go and quickly grab the target depth range that I'm trying to target those fish at and switch between baits. And what I kind of recommend is get a good variety. And one of the things I have done is, if you can see it here, I've actually listed the models and the depth range. These are the numbers off of Lucky Craft's website. I've gone through. Flat Mini SR is 1.2. I can go right here. There's a Flat Mini SR crankbait. Makes it quicker and easier so you're more efficient while you're on the water. I kind of know the depth ranges. Say I'm throwing a 2 foot, 1 to 2 foot diver, and I say, man, that's just not getting the depth I want to. I can quickly grab from my 3 to 5 box, not having to think, okay, which one is the next step? Because Lucky Craft builds so many different models, this allows me to quickly go. I can go to a small size, I can go to a large size, or something in between, but I can quickly pull out a bait. Say, this is Flat Mini MR. If I go to the Flat Mini MR on here, it's going to tell me it's a 3 to 4 foot diver. That allows me to select the bait that I was using before, and maybe I had some success, but those fish had just gotten a little deeper. I wanted to target a deeper depth. I could quickly grab that as a bait. I want to go to 5 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12. Depending on crankbaits, you may want to do 0 to 6 and 6 to 12 and 12 plus, depending on your fisheries and the number of baits. But it's a system that I've developed that I think will help me fishing because I'm going to have small, medium, and large baits all in the same box, but at different target depth ranges. I've really fine-tuned my target depth range because 0 to 2, I'm going to probably keep that bait up close to the surface, or I'm fishing really, really shallow water. 3 to 5 is going to be a common area that I personally like to fish. But maybe I want to go just a little bit deeper. I can jump in my 5 to 8 box real quick. Now, the next system. We'll just jump in here to our 5 to 8 box. We've got a lot of different varieties. If we look at all these different crankbaits, I've got the SKT minis, I've got XAT regular sizes in here, I've got the Fat CB, I've got Flat Mini DRs, I've got the Fat Mini D7s in here. But what I have done is created a system. This side, left side, and every one of my boxes is shad colors. clears and solid shad looking style baits. My next row is crawfish and medium colors. What I would call medium watercolors are my brim patterns, my crawfish patterns, sometimes just not as something I would throw in the dirtier waters. And then my last side is the yellows and those darker colors. There's sunfish, but that has kind of been my system that I've tried to organize. Now, where I got a lot of them, I've kind of had to mix things in, but that's predominantly my 3 or 4 different colors that I'm looking for. I'm looking for shad, bass feeding on shad, bass feeding on brim, bass feeding on crawfish, and bass, the dirty water colors. Those are my 4 simplistic colors that I have basically selected down. I've got a lot of different varieties. Now some boxes I don't have a lot, like the 8 to 10 foot range. This is something that I could build upon. It allows me to grow my baits from the baits that I've selected, and actually that is one of the reasons I've done this, is it's time for me to look at some new baits, and this is going to allow me to select baits and target ranges that I need to add to my arsenal. You can select your system however. I've actually created 3 boxes of square bills. I went 0 to the 2.0s, I went to 2.5s to 3.5s, and then I went to the magnums. Did the same thing, splitting some of the deep dives in the 20-foot box. This is where the Big Daddy SKT Mag 120s, the 25-foot diver, there she is in that box. Got pretty simplistic colors. I've got bright colors that are my brim colors, and then I have my shad colors. Don't need a whole lot of them, but they take up a lot of space. Thing is, I'm planning on fishing 0 to 10 foot of water. I probably don't have to take this box with me. I can quickly eliminate boxes that I don't need. Same thing if I go to like the 15 to 20s. Just quickly slip here. If you're not fishing in deep water, there's the big 15-foot dive SKT. That's the MR, and that's the flat CB20s there. I got them handy. 15 to 20 foot is going to be a target range. Probably, if I was going 20-foot fishing, I'd grab those 2 boxes and take them with me. The big thing is to develop a system. However you want to do this, but the big thing is look at my 10 to 12s. I've got my LC 2.5 and 3.5. I've got my flat CBD 12s. I've got them all together. Both of these baits have a little bit of different action, and that's what I want to be able to do. Is if they're not biting a flat CB20, maybe I need to pick up and it's an 11 to 12 foot diver. I can go to the 3.5 real quick and do the same bait or same color, just a little different action. And that may be the whole difference in me catching fish and not catching fish in a day, is just experimenting with what the fish want. Let the fish tell you what they want. The big thing is creating an organization system that works for you. If it's colors, if you're fishing different kinds of water. I fish all over the country. Water conditions can change from clear to dirty to muddy in a matter of days, like the rains we've had. It's kind of nice to have everything in one box. So the big thing is get a good variety of baits, sizes and depths and colors. What I look at is you need baits in that typically most people need shallow baits like the square bills. These little small baits, don't overlook them. Don't overlook this flat mini SR. the C100. That little bait there, the moon salt, I've caught a lot of fish on these baits here. They're a great way to catch a lot of fish. Probably one of my favorite is the BDS 1.2 Magic. That little bait is a fish catching machine. No matter where you're at. If you think that little small bait don't catch big fish, you're guessing wrong. Not every time, not all day long you want to eat a steak dinner. Sometimes you want a Snickers or grab a little popcorn. That's your snack. So, build you a system, basic colors, and you don't have to buy every color and every lure that's out there on the market. We'd love you to at Lucky Craft, but the thing is develop a system and what fits within your budget and work your way up as you do that and create a system that'll allow you to expand, fish all different types of water, allows you to grab 2 or 3 boxes and go fishing. I do the same thing. There's all my rattle cranks. Topwaters, I basically do break them down in 2 boxes. I've got basically poppers, and I've got ones that's got the wake tail with the tail on the back, or I got the this is the splash tail. This has got the spinner and popper. You got a spinner on the back and a spinner on the front. Awesome little baits. Works different times of the years. Sometimes you want a bait that walks. You got the KJ. It's building the system for you. Here's my box that I call the walkers. This is basically my gunfishes and my Sammies are in here. Got some big ones, got some small ones, got some dirtier water stuff. That black isn't just for night fishing. That's something that a guy may want to mix a little bit into, but it makes it easier for you to grab the baits that you need for that day. Jerk baits, I use them a lot in the winter. Around here in Missouri, after that, they pretty much go on the shelf. But I've done a shiny box and I've done a solid box. That basically allows me to develop a system. Now, one thing I want to speak on is these numbering systems. They're basically a guideline. Line size is going to vary and vary by type. I personally love Sunline is my line of choice. Throw one thing on a crankbait. If you need a crankbait to dive a little bit deeper, and say you're throwing 14-pound test, take that down to 8 or 10 or 12. The smaller the diameter, the more depth you're going to get out of a crankbait. And a word for advice is, this is fluorocarbon. This is a Super FC Sniper. This is a fluorocarbon line. I love cranking on fluorocarbon, but there's situations where I want a nylon or monofilament line. And when I go to that, I go to the Shooter Defire Armillo. This line here is a floating line where it'll float on the water surface. Top waters, jerk baits. Fluorocarbon lines actually sink in the water and they can actually sink your bait. They can gain you extra depth, but the other thing is in a bait where you don't want it to sink, like a top water, try you some nylon monofilament. This is a very, very high quality product, not real super expensive, no higher than putting fluorocarbon line on. So they make it in a wide variety of sizes, 15 to 22. I'm a square bill freak. 22-pound Shooter Armillo is what I use on my bigger square bills that I want to keep up higher in the water column. You can adjust your line size to play with that depth range. If you really need to float, braided line. Braided line is very good on your top water baits. You don't have to re-spool as much. You can get like this is 30 pound. The strength diameter is going to be a lot smaller. Here's 12-pound test. I can throw this 12-pound test on it, and it's actually smaller diameter than my 12-pound fluorocarbon, because this is 12-pound test, not 12-pound diameter. So when you start playing with these crankbaits, get out there, and if the fish ain't biting someday, take your 2-footers and throw some on an 8, 10, 12, 14. Just try some different line sizes and get to a spot. Take your sonar equipment like your Humminbird, drive over a point. That's one of the things I found is on the SKT mag, I actually hit 30-foot depth with it. I actually took my Humminbird, drove over a point, marked that point with a waypoint, backed off, and I threw at that waypoint to tell how deep that crankbait was hit. Throw past it, dig it down there, bing, 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 boom. If it hits it, you're at that depth. So that's a good way to understand and learn the depths of crankbaits and the varieties of crankbaits. These things are fish catching tools, but you need to have a system to help you use those baits and learn those baits, because they all have different actions and they all have different reasons to throw, and they will all catch fish. But mixing them up and understanding when you need to grab one over another is the best advice and tool that you can have. Understand the depth. On some of my baits, I'll even take me a Sharpie marker, and I will write on the bill with the like if I'm going to throw a 20-foot diver on 8-pound test, I will mark the depth that bait will go. Some baits will dive just a hair deeper than others, or you can tweak and you can shave on the bill and you can play with that bait and get it to dive a little bit deeper. And that's some of the tools. So if you know you will need a bait that's going to hit 19 foot, you pull up to this spot, you grab your 19-foot bait and you throw it. You know you're going to hit the bottom there. If you pull up and it's a 17 or 18, you're not going to get down there where the fish are. So understanding and learning your crankbaits is just like understanding and learning your electronic systems, your boats, your rods, your reels, your favorite line. Go out there, enjoy it. Hope that helps you figure out a new system to organize your baits to make it easier for you, so you don't have to take everything out every day. Take what you need. That's the simplest thing. If you take less tackle with you, it'll improve your fuel economy in your boat, and you'll be able to spend less money to enjoy more time on the water. And that's the whole reason, is to catch more fish and enjoy those special moments that you do get a chance to go fishing. I appreciate you tuning in to another set of tips and tricks. And if you ever have any questions, hit me up on the comments. I try to keep them caught up to. And then check out the next tip and tricks as we go more in depth about these awesome products. And we'll discuss these baits more one-on-one this year as we talk about their actions and how and where and why to fish them. They're a great bait. They're awesome right out of the package, and that's why I love my Lucky Crafts. They are under lock and key pretty much all the time. Thank you for tuning in to another tips and tricks, and tune in next time as we go more in depth about these great products I'm able to represent.